So Monocle has been updated to version 2023.5.5, and this update's actually been submitted to the package manager 3 times because I've caught a few things in the process, but it's good to go now. So it is up there for you to be able to check out right after you watch this video. So in Monocle, we have a few new updates, one of which is a feature request from this user here on the Monocle GitHub. He asked, can we have a feature to allow a quick save backup? So that's in there now. So that's the first one. And then the second feature is a feature that I've wanted for a very long time and I've needed a lot lately. So let's go ahead and take a look at them. So for this first feature, I have a sample graph open that's just called swap example. I'll pin this folder to the top of my window. This is using a tool called Power Toys, which I did a video on. I'll include a link below as well. And that lets you kind of pin windows on top of one another, which is really handy for these kind of videos too. If we go to File, we now have a new section called Better Save. That's where this tool lives. So within Better Save, we actually have Quick Save. So if we click that, we will see that we get a timestamped and date stamped version of our file saved right to our desktop. So this is kind of a snapshot in time of that file. There is a keyboard shortcut of Control-Alt-S to do that quick snapshot, if you will, of your Dynamo graph. So it's a really quick save as that you have access to now to be able to use, which is really nice. It's nice just to save those kind of in-progress things beyond what Dynamo does out of the box with its own backup infrastructure. In addition to that, we also have another save in here called Sloppy Save. That one's kind of interesting because if you're just doing kind of a scratch Dynamo graph and you just want to save it real quick without having to think about naming it, you can do that real quick by clicking that. And on my desktop, I actually have a new file called Very What Thingy. Really cool workflow with a number. It's random words that I've added to be able to save those. So it just saves it really quickly. And the ultimate goal of that is to hook it into the closing event of Dynamo to where if you haven't saved it, it'll say, do you want to just sloppy save it real quick? So you can do that too, because sometimes it's kind of nice to have those things. So that one's in there as well. And another one is a save with new GUIDs command. This one's useful when you use it in conjunction with this insert command that was added recently in Dynamo. I did a video on this one as well and discovered kind of during the video that it doesn't work for inserting files multiple times, at least in current Dynamo versions. And some of the early builds out right now for 2.18 and so on, you are able to insert more than one. So they have fixed it, but if you do need to save a file with new GUIDs, you can do that as well. So that's available in there. You probably won't use that one as much. Quick Save will probably be the most used one, but they're both in there, or all three rather, are in there. We'll go ahead and close this. And we'll get the feature that I'm probably most excited about. So let's say we have a graph and I accidentally used an addition node and I was supposed to use a subtraction node. I don't know, some scenario like that. If I want to swap these nodes out right now, I need to place the node, drag all my connectors. You can hold down Shift to disconnect outputs and you're good to go. Delete the original node. So that process kind of stinks. It's kind of hard to do, especially if you start to keep on adding more nodes to this scenario. So you'll also have to, if I copy this, I now created another issue. So what you can do now with Monocle is add a subtraction node or whatever node you want to swap to, and you can actually go to Monocle Node Swapper. So this is the new tool that I found really useful while upgrading Dynamo graphs. It'll tell us to select a node to use as a replacement. If I click in a blank area, it exits the command, so I'll go ahead and reactivate it. I'll pick the subtraction node, and then it converts it to telling me to select the nodes to match to this target node. I'll go around and start clicking, and I'll see that it's swapping those nodes out for me. So it's kind of like a find and replace in a way. Click in a blank space, and you're good to go. One thing you will notice is it does actually change you to the manual run mode when you activate it. This is on purpose, and that's because we don't want to run the Dynamo graph every time you switch a node. So that is by design. And you can actually go around and keep on kind of swapping a bunch of stuff if you wanted. At this time, it works really well with out-of-the-box nodes, especially if it's a one-to-one replacement, but it also works with custom nodes, and it does work with code blocks. So if I have a code block with an input and output, I can also swap that. Another thing worth noting is it is in the context menu as well, that little toolbox in Monocle. So if I click this, it takes me into the match mode instantly. So there's no ink dropper at the beginning. I'm just ready to start matching nodes to that one. So we'll see that it does work. These have different inputs and outputs, so it does what it can. It can't work magic, and it does start to work in that way. If you were to have a code block that maybe has a couple different outputs and inputs like this, we'll activate it, and it will go through and actually match that code block as well. Once again, if you had a one-to-one comparison, so if I have a 2-input kind of scenario, and we match this one, it will do what it can in that case. So it kind of uses it one-to-one, working down the list is kind of how that works. So that's Node Swapper. I find that I'm using it the most in Canvas right from the little ink dropper, but if you want to be a little more specific in your selections, selecting Node Swapper takes you into that selection mode as well. It's pretty stable for my testing. It's worked well. If you find any nodes that it doesn't work on, let me know and I can get those added. Like I said, right now, really great with out-of-the-box nodes. Zero-touch nodes, it works well. Even Python nodes that are stacked, it works well. It won't really do much with like a regular Python script node. It'll create one, but it won't actually copy the script at this time. I can probably add that here soon. But generally, if it's one-to-one replacements, it works really well. My use case was generative design in newer versions of Revit. The data.gate node and data.remember don't upgrade. Who knows why? You have to place those manually and it's awful. So this tool was built out of that frustration, and hopefully it helps you all as well. So that's it for the video today. Monocle updates, check it out on the package manager. It works in all the supported versions of Dynamo right now. And other than that, we'll see you in the next one, and thanks for checking out this video.